Welcome, everyone, to Garden of Thought, proudly presented by the Sports Jedi Network and the Sports Jedi Media Network on YouTube, but simply Sports Jedi Network everywhere else, including on your audio downloads. You can also find the Garden of Thought on its own feed for audio downloads, also on the Wrestling Soup Network, and my YouTube channel at Garden of Thought Pod, which is vestigial but still exists. And if you want to give me a follow, that's a wonderful thing. It's always fun to see subscribers there. Guest today is an author, best-selling author, Deborah Wilde. She comes to us through our good friend, Mickey Mickelson. And I'm going to sort of characterize this in my uneducated way that I feel like, in reading the summary of the book, it maybe might what happens if like Charmed or the folks from Buffy the Vampire Slayer grew up and moved to the suburbs.
Not the suburbs, but yes.
Not the suburbs. But yeah, so we have a bunch of middle-aged divorced, hormonally imbalanced women who also have magic, and magic is sort of taboo. It's illegal. It's a world that knows about magic, and it's a world that has made it illegal, and they get into all sorts of hijinks. You have a series of books on that, and this book called Golem for Broke is the first of the Mad Queens Inc. book. Mad Queens Inc. meaning incorporated. And yeah, so before we jump directly into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, your life story, and yes, you were a scriptwriter before you went into books, and I'm sure people will be interested in that as well.
I was a screenwriter. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. This is my hometown. It's where I set my books. And I was a screenwriter for 12 years, and then I decided to jump ship because of different changes in the industry here and start writing, being an author full-time, writing urban fantasy.
Okay. Did you write on Orphan Black?
I wish. I love that show so much, and I wish, but no.
I loved it so much until I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's.
But you love Tatiana, right? You love Tatiana Maslany?
Oh my goodness! I mean, in that she was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Not so much She-Hulk. Not blaming her.
No, but in the reboot of Perry Mason, she was fantastic.
I did not see that, which is a double sin on me because I went to like elementary school and kindergarten and high school with the guy who wrote it, Michael.
Oh
Bedford.
my goodness!
Yeah,
Wow.
he wrote the Nick, and he wrote Perry Mason.
Wow.
It's like, so I should have at least supported that far into it, but I didn't. It's I think I'm like the only person who doesn't really like that Jonathan Rhys Meyers guy.
Oh, okay.
The actor. Like, I like the Americans, but like, I didn't really find him to be likable, and I don't. Anyway, not important. Anyway, so what are there any works that we would know about that you were a screenwriter for?
A lot of Canadian stuff, a lot of animation, a lot of probably not, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
It was great though. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun being in writers' rooms, and it gave me really good training.
Well, it sounds like it wasn't all fun because you said that you broke your edit button a bunch of times, and so
That was mostly because of the changes to the industry. It just got, by the end, what happened was here in Canada, they changed the regulations so that broadcasters didn't have to have a certain number of scripted hours in order to keep their licenses. They could do reality programming. And so, of course, because that's so much cheaper, of course, that's what they started doing. So it just got really frustrating to be getting on shows or getting, close to being greenlit. And then suddenly it would just be like, no, we're going to do reality instead. So that was the frustrating part.
Oh, well, I have a great reality show, but I need to get my people together to get the financing, and the financing, of course, includes also paying me. So
yes, always a good thing.
Yes, and I'm absolutely certain. All right, so even though you had frustrations with the edit button, it wasn't because you didn't love to type and write and things like that. So clearly, you chose a path that, was it a straight line into authorship? Did you have all these ideas in your head that were like possibly for scripts or shows that didn't go all the way, or movies that didn't go away, and you're like, I have kernels here, I have stories, I have entire worlds in my head. Like, what was your process?
So I actually started with a completely different pen name and I was writing YA. And at that point, I just wanted to see if I even liked writing. And so my plan was to write 5 books in 3 years. And I did that and I learned a lot. And then I just thought, I don't want to write YA anymore. I wanted to write urban fantasy. I wanted to have spicy romance in it. I wanted to, really get to dial into my love of like old Hollywood movie banter and stuff. So I launched the Deborah Wilde pen name in 2017, and it's Golem for Broke will be my 26th book now.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who don't know, YA is young adult. Uh,
Yes.
Urban fantasy maybe speaks for itself, but for those who don't, some people don't always distinguish between science fiction and fantasy. So, what's the difference between science fiction and fantasy, and then where does urban fantasy fit into the milieu?
Well, science fiction is going to be dealing more with science, with actual rules, with physics, I mean, it's Star Trek, it's, fantasy. I have a lot of leeway in magic systems and what I can make up as applicable to the world. I don't have to necessarily ground it in science. And then urban fantasy, the way I write it, is modern city based fantasy, very much like you mentioned, Buffy or Charmed or Hocus Pocus, Supernatural, those were urban fantasy TV series.
Right, where they're all where the shrouded world is all around us, just most of us don't see it or encounter it.
Yeah, and in urban fantasy in books, there's a real range. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's not. I tend to play with it. My different series I play, sometimes it's hidden and sometimes it's out in the open. It just gives different creative opportunities.
Yeah, and I noticed that in the description of your book. Obviously, magic is illegal, so clearly it's
Well,
known.
no, it's not. Magic isn't illegal. Having two kinds of magic is illegal. They have a
Okay,
secondary hidden power, and that's what's illegal. You're not allowed to have two kinds of magic.
who makes it illegal? Is it a government? Is it a state type of illegality, or is it illegal within the magical community?
No, it's illegal with the government.
So okay, so good. So we are living in a world sort of like the boys, or like the MCU, where the world knows about heroes, gods, magic, aliens, the whole thing, and you know and us mere mortal humans are still trying to pretend that we're in control, and I guess the others, either they're either hopelessly outnumbered despite their skills, or they would like to get along just as well, or whatever the reasons may be. They have more regular humans in their lives than magical humans in their lives. So I don't know, just world build a little bit for us. Build your world. Is it Vancouver? Is it supposed to be this Earth, or is it an Earth that's sort of like ours, but like the man in the high castle, just a little different?
Yeah, it's mostly our world. So I have 4 complete series, and this is starting my 5th, and each one is a slightly different version of Vancouver in that it has a different magic system, and there's no connection between the series. So it's more or less current day Vancouver. I reference places, that I go to and landmarks here in town and stuff, but it's a little different. There's hidden pockets of alternate realities that you can access through a magic hotel. Um, Magic's been around forever, so it's not something that people are having to come to terms with. As you said, yes, more people do not have magic than do have magic. There's a spark in all of us that, under certain conditions, sometimes in very stressful developmental stages or in times of trauma, can manifest into something more, and that's when it becomes magic. So some people then develop it, and other people don't.
Okay, so which was your first bestseller?
It was my first book, The Unlikable Demon Hunter.
Well, that's sort of one for one. That's convenient.
Yes,
So
it was very lucky.
I guess it was just off to the races from then.
It was. I went full time as an author, as an indie author out of the gate in 2017. Yeah.
Do you have any histories or mythologies or folklore that you draw from consistently, or do you mix it up a bit? Like, what's your inspiration for this? And then you can tell me how you build a world.
Sure. I'm Jewish. And when I was growing up, I never saw myself in the fantasies I read. You know, I wanted to see a Jewish girl go through a wardrobe or go down a rabbit hole, and that didn't happen. So when I started writing urban fantasy, it wasn't even really like a plan. I just made my first heroine, Navakat's Jewish, because I wanted the representation and I thought it could be fun to play with mythologies in my own religion. Um, and it became really fun. And I started researching things and finding things I had no idea about and finding ways to make magical connections that were really fun in Judaism. I'm a very secular Jew, but there was a lot there that I could play with. And so when it came time for the next book, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this again. And people really responded to it. You know, people were like, hey, I didn't know that. And this is really new to me. And it's really interesting. And it's like, okay, this is something I can contribute. I can contribute humor to urban fantasy, my voice, because all my books are very voicey and funny. And I can contribute this magic, these kinds of magic systems that are built from Jewish mythology or Judaism that at the time I wasn't really finding other people doing that very much, or maybe like one, or you know, there might be one book out there, but it wasn't really a lot of people doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I mean, first of all, like half of my show is my own discovery of just how much of mythology and religion is basically magic. You know, you could say, or what was considered magic, and that would include the Old Testament and learning from people who study Kabbalah, including my friend who's yeshiva trained, Orthodox,
Okay.
and some of the things that he believes devoutly to me don't sound Jewish at all. Now he's the yeshiva Orthodox Jew, so it should be more Jew, but it sounds exactly like the people I know who do Gnosticism or Hermeticism or or theosophy. You know, it's more like that with you know, throwing a touch of the chakras and Eastern philosophies in it, and it's just wild to me how much of the world has accepted non-canonical books as part of the gospel of both halves of the Bible or the Bible period, whereas the Bible itself doesn't. I mean, the grandfather of the show is probably my discovery of the word Nephilim
Mm.
and not having a satisfactory answer for what it was. And when I learned what it was from people who pretended to know what it was, but then when I actually read it and studied and compared it with other mythology, that's not at all what it is. It's just what some people wrote in like the either the first century BC or the first century CE, and decided, like, they turned the whole everyone else's mythology of giant. No, it was just the demigods. It was just the passing of the divine to semi-divine to the rulers of men. It's just like everyone else does. But the entire world is now convinced that there's not the entire world, but large segments of the world are convinced that there were cannibalistic giants up there, and that's why there was a flood. It had nothing to do with people, sinning and being terrible. And I talk to people, and they're like, well, angels can't think. They're just automatons. That's why they're not lesser gods. That's why it's monotheism. Well, what were they thinking when they left heaven and decided to take human brides? I mean, they made some choices there. So anyway, not about me, just the host. So, but I did want to ask you, because the golem is, known as Jewish mythology, but mostly
Yep.
from the Golem of Prague, which
Yep.
I think is like, the 1500s, 1600s,
Something like that.
somewhere,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, something like that.
Yep.
Was there in fact a golem in the Bible?
No. Oh no. But I'm drawing extensively from folklore and mythology as well, right? So this isn't all just Old Testament, that I'm pulling from.
Right, I didn't think so. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm not a theological scholar, though I can sometimes pass as one, but only the things that
Oh, I
interest me.
can't even pass this one.
But I didn't think there was any golem in there. I
No,
mean,
there's not.
I mean, if you read the creation story about just about everywhere, I mean, Adam's a golem. He's made from clay, and dirt.
Yep. Yep.
Enkidu from Gilgamesh. Quite possibly a golem. But yeah, so I just wonder, do you know where the whole golem idea came from? I mean, it couldn't have been originated by this author or legend or rabbi in a Jewish ghetto in Prague.
I don't know before that. That's my first source understanding of it.
Because it's like it arguably, if you wanted, I mean, if people call Frankenstein the first science fiction book, arguably, the Legend of the Golem of Prague is the first science fiction story, because I mean, it's not that much different.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'd still say it's more fantasy than science fiction because of the method by which he's brought to life. You know, he
Mhm.
writes Emmet, scrapes, you know, Emmet, and then if you take, which means truth, and then if you
True.
take remove the aleph from Emmet, forgive my butchered Hebrew, I don't actually speak Hebrew, and then you get Met, which is death, and that was the means of stopping him. So that's a magical um, conceit rather than, you know, Frankenstein, the mad scientist laboratory.
True. Yes, and I knew that also, that the word, I just wasn't sure of the order, but it starts as truth, and then
Yeah,
you
go
sort
to
of
death.
scrape off the first letter because he's made of mud after all, and and then it goes to death. Now I wasn't sure if that was like he starts off as truth, just as a guardian, and then you scrape it off as death to have him being a rampaging, basically Hulk smash, or if that was his off button. It sounds like it's his off button.
It's the off button, but I mean, you know, I play fast and loose. I have had golems in other books, not as prominently featured as in this one, and I do, you know, I kind of play fast and loose with how I need them to be.
The Thing from Fantastic Four, Gollum or not?
Oh, isn't he stone though?
He's made of rocks.
Yeah. Yes, I'd say so.
Okay, good. How about Sandman from Spider-Man? Is he a Gollum or not?
I can't think of Sandman from Spider-Man. I can only think of Sandman.
Okay. Well, Sandman from Spider-Man was in Spider-Man 3, played by Thomas Hayden Church, the guy from Wings.
Oh, okay. I am blanking. I've seen the spider, all of them, but I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, okay. Well, he was in the one with Venom, where they had way too many villains,
Ah,
and he was sort of a villain who didn't think he was a villain, and sort of turned into a hero, kind of. Anyway, doesn't matter. These are just some of my silly questions. All right, so tell us about the world that you built here in the Golem for Broke world.
right. So magic is out in the open. You're allowed to, you know, people have one kind of magic, and these women, when they got their magic when they went through perimenopause, and so the symptoms that they each suffer with the most became their magic system. So the my lead character Tovah, she has hot flash magic. So she's considered a weaker fire elemental and a cute party trick. And that's about how, you know, in terms of where she ranks in the magic community, it's pretty much at the bottom, which is also gave me a lot of leeway to play with how women are seen when they're in perimenopause and viewed by society at large, which is something fun to play with as well. Because the other part of this is she has a very dangerous magic where she can burn the animating spark out of things or people, and she can just render them inert. She doesn't use it, and she keeps it very desperately hidden. But her and her three best friends, that she runs this sort of magic PI slash fixer agency for the magic community with, they each have their own version of that deeper magic based on the perimenopausal magic that people kind of dismiss.
So it's the opposite of Ginger Snaps, where Ginger Snaps, her werewolf glory
Yeah,
comes out as she blossoms into womanhood for the first time, and
this is,
basically
yes.
with the werewolf injections in her, right? She morphs into this bombshell when the day before she was just the girl next door, goth
I
girl.
love that you know Ginger Snaps.
I think that Ginger Snaps is a
It's
fantastic
brilliant.
movie.
It's a fantastic movie.
The sequel and the prequel, not so much. They
Oh, I
tried. I'm
didn't
glad
see
they
those.
tried. But
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
I love Ginger Snaps. I mean, it was done so. It wasn't
It's so
subtle.
clever.
It was, yes,
Yeah.
and yeah, and like even the dullard like me, a middle-aged man, could tell. Oh my God, they're talking about as she's going through puberty and having her time. That now all of a sudden it's blossomed. It's like kickstarted. It's
Yeah.
leveled up. So all right, so it's fine. So perimenopause is not usually considered a time of joy for women. For women, I mean, it's very inconvenient because it's like all of the rotten things that come with menopause, except not the whatever the benefit of menopause is, that you don't have to worry about birth control anymore, and
Right.
things like that. Um, so it's sort of fun to play with that. A time of it's not all. It's like it's got like no good parts to it, but in this case, it does, because it seems to have awakened like X-Men like abilities in people who are frankly already X-Men, but like everyone's an X-Man here, so
Yeah.
they become like double secret X-Men or X.
I think what the good part is there's all these tales set in around chosen ones or destiny or whatever in adolescence, which is a time of struggle and transition and young people trying to find their place in the world. And I think in perimenopause, at least from my own experience, I didn't get the magic, but in terms of struggle and transition and trying to figure out my place in the world again in this new stage of my life, I mean, it's very similar. So it gets to become, in a sense, another coming of age, or another, trying to figure out how you want to move through the world opportunity with my characters.
Is Tovah's song, I'm going to give you two choices: Queen, It's a Kind of Magic, or is it Bonnie Tyler, I'm Holding Out for a Hero?
Oh, no, It's a Kind of Magic.
Okay. All right. Okay. I sort of had a feeling you were going to go with that one. That's okay. I mean, it was one of the two.
Holding out for any heroes. She's doing it. She's the problem solver. She's the fixer. She gets it done.
Well, maybe it's a song about herself. That she's the hero. So her friends. Should we give them names also? And like, what are their respective Fantastic Four magic skills?
Okay, well, first of all, the series is from Tovah's POV, so her friends, they're definitely very important, just in the way that I think, that I found in my other female friendships when you hit your 40s and older, our female friendships are very important, so I wanted to reflect that in the book. So her three best friends are Soojin Park, who was Ginny. She's Korean Canadian. She's had a long career as an actress on the stage, but the roles have gotten more dried up. So she's come to work with Tovah. She has brain fog magic. Then there's Nisha Prasad, who is sort of more the empath. She can regulate emotions. And then there's Margot Harrington, who's sort of the hacker of the bunch, she gets overwhelmed and she will tend to short circuit stuff because she gets physical sensory overload, which also comes with perimenopause for some people.
Oh, okay. So the powers are directly tied into their symptoms, I guess I'll call them.
Their predominant symptom, yeah.
Right. Okay. So what is the plot device? I mean, obviously they've already got this agency. It already exists.
Yes.
So
yes. I didn't want to do an origin story of, oh, look, we just got magic. They've had magic for several years now. They've been running this agency for several years now. They're very competent. What kicks it off, though, is Tovah goes for a mammogram. And while she is clamped into the machine, a golem breaks into the clinic and tries to attack her. And she's forced to use her secret magic to destroy him. And she manages to convince everybody that she did it via her fire magic because she melted his head. So she convinces the magic law enforcement that that's how she did it. Unfortunately, the city's golem-maker, who is her brother's best friend that she's never gotten along with, he doesn't believe her because he knows what it takes to stop a golem. And he's like, there's no way you did it with that. And so it turns into kind of a blackmail, kind of the two of them trying to figure out who sent this golem after her and stop it before, either the magic cops clue in or the next attack takes her out for good.
Well, he's the city's golem-maker. So he's obviously
he didn't make this one.
So so he's innocent. We know this because the empath or whatever was able to tell that he's telling the truth.
No, because he's so offended by the junky quality of the golem that was sent after her. He has professional pride and he's just completely offended. She thinks it was him. And she knows what his other golems are like. So she knows it's not him.
So okay, his golems could never be defeated by any sort of just mere magic. It would have to be, omega level,
No,
mutant.
it's more that it's just really crudely made, this golem, and his golems actually, look like people, and this looks like somebody carved a mouth into a lump of clay. Like it was just how it was made. More like it wasn't. It still couldn't have been stopped by her fire magic, the crudely made one, but he just has more professional pride and craftsmanship.
Okay, so it's like instead of looking like a humanoid, it basically look maybe like a mannequin at best, but
Yeah,
not like that. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
all right. Now, what does he make golems for the city? Is it like their police force, their workforce? Is it?
No, it's mostly for wealthy clients who want to have confidential staff because the way they see it, they don't regard golems. He makes golems and gargoyles, and so the gargoyles provide a lot of security assignments for people, and golems are they're not regarded as people, and nobody watches what they say around a toaster. So for clients who don't want that messy human element of staff for confidentiality or for cachet and status, that's who'll hire his golems. But the rumors are his golems are also a spy network for him, the same way that perhaps the golems take on darker assignments as well.
The rumor also is that all of our devices are spying on us right now, and I believe those rumors are true. So I see no reason to not believe that this golem was, or all of the golems are fitted with something to, for her brother's best friend's nefarious schemes. Okay, so they're reluctantly teaming up, even though they don't much like each other. Now,
Yes.
do these two kids fall in love, or do they stay not liking each other?
It's going to be complicated.
Okay, it's going to
I've
get
got a whole
complicated.
series to write. It has to be complicated.
Okay, all right, okay, we got it. Message received. There are entanglements
There are
involved.
entanglements.
All right, so how do you go about starting your quest of trying to find a rogue golem maker? Are there signature magic fingerprints that you could follow, so to speak, to lead you on the path?
They actually do it by tracking down a scrapyard owner who's rumored to deal in some black market magic parts. So they find him and they find out he had found this golem, and then they're able to track it back to who the maker was.
So this is like Blade Runner, like, but 20 years later when they would have replicant junkyards and used parts and stuff like that going on, except on the magic side of things as opposed to the technological side of things.
Yeah, kind of magic black markets are fun to write, so I like to write them.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I mean, like you said, in fantasy, you've licensed to do pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah.
All right. Now, obviously, this is a series, so so we don't want to spoil anything clearly, but I think we sort of need to sell what's the bigger problem? Is this like world changing, universe changing? Is this Thanos is coming to kill half of us? Or is this Ultron who wants to kill all of us? Is this the Scarlet Witch is going to go crazy and who knows what's going to happen? Or is it a completely different situation entirely?
At the moment where it ends is, so the B plot they've been dealing with a magic mirror that a client hired to find out. She inherited it from her grandmother, and they were trying to find out if the judgy spirit in it was the grandmother. And what they find out at the very end, they find out it wasn't. But what happens at the very end is the mirror tells Tovah that someone she loves is lying to her. And so that becomes a sort of series overarching plot line. And that's going to have much bigger stakes.
Cool. I want to go back to, because me. I got lost in my own little monologue there. I want to go back to sort of the folklore and the traditions and the stories that you draw on. So, maybe if you could like give some samplings of some of the tales, some of the things that you drew on from your Jewish background. Because I don't know that most people, when they think about Jews, they think most about folklore. They probably think about people who sell diamonds, or they're orthodontists, lawyers, doctors, um, you know, uh, Jeffrey Epstein, um, um, other things. So, but not necessarily thought of as, you know, a magical tradition. Like if you go the Irish, like, it's not too far, start thinking about leprechauns and, and the fae folk and things like that. So Britain, you think of King Arthur. But it's not really so. It's just like the magic and the folklore has been codified as scripture. So, King Solomon, and his ring and all the demons, that's just religion. That's not magic. That's the power of God. I mean, okay.
Depends how
But
you use it.
right. So which stories and platforms did you draw upon? Was it stuff that your parents or grandparents told you? Was it stuff from the Bible? Just
I think
I don't know.
it was all of it. It was, mythologies, Jewish stories we had around the house. It was, things that I researched. It was I this was amazing. This is like a career defining moment for me. I had a rabbi reach out to me. Um, I think it was during my second series, the Jezebel Files, and she was a big fan of my books, and she said, anytime you have any questions, please ask. And I have reached out to her many times with questions. Like one was, I had a vampire in one of my series who had been a rabbi during the Inquisition, and he didn't drink blood. He'd helped to develop synthetic blood. But I have this thing where I want him to be saying the prayer of mourning. And so I was contacting her. I'm like, okay, I've got a vampire. He was a former rabbi. He needs to say this prayer, but there's no minion. There's no 10 men. So is it okay if he's still saying? And she's like, I love this. Okay. She goes, yes, you may take creative license with this and have him say it in the scene. I'm like, excellent. Thank you. So, I feel okay. I get my rabbi's blessing to take some creative license. But what have I used? So in the first book, it was my first series was all very demon focused. So it was the Ring of Solomon. It was King David killing demons for David killing demons for Solomon. It was Gog and Magog. It was the idea of the Mashiach, the Jewish Messiah. There was, in the second book, it was inspired by Jezebel and the bride of Yahweh, Asherah, and almond trees and Asherah's mythology and how she disappears from the Bible, and also Kabbalah conspiracies. I'm trying to think what else I have. The third book was where I had my
You
vampire.
can embellish on any of those. You don't feel like you need to rush on any of them. I'd love to hear about any of them.
I'm trying to remember. My problem is that I write these series and then they go out of my head as I when I need to make room.
What do you
for the
remember
next
about
one.
Asherah? Because I know she's definitely been lost to history, sort of, but she remains on the outskirts, and that wasn't her only name. She had other similar names in sort of
In other
nearby
mythologies.
religions as well,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
certainly not unusual. But again, one of the things that I learned from certain scholars or clergy, like some like Lilith was real, others like Lilith is not real. There's all sorts of things like that out there.
I've used Lilith. I did use Lilith in the Unlikable Demon Hunter books. Lilith is a character. I have a character as well who is an Ifrit from Arab mythology, because I brought in demons from all kinds of mythologies. And there's a whole thing about the idea of Shaitan, which is Satan, but Shaitan is just a title. And
Right.
as they refer to it, it's like being the Dread Pirate Roberts. I mean,
Right.
it's not it's not like this one particular angel. It's a title anybody could have. So I played with that idea as well. Yeah, Lilith has definitely played into it. There's so many places, like just even the idea of the tree of life in Kabbalah, like that came into my Jezebel files. Because the whole magic system starts because a few hundred years ago, a bunch of men tried to shortcut and get to a higher level on the tree of life. And instead they brought magic into the world. So yeah,
Oh, those rascally men.
those rascally men.
Always doing crazy stuff. So what do we remember about Asherah, who was Yahweh's,
Oh my
well,
goodness.
wife?
That well, she was largely erased, and Jezebel was her handmaiden and tried to basically keep her the idea of her and the faith in her alive, and was ripped by apart by dogs for it. Um,
Yeah, like
is
Jezebel wasn't like when you think Jezebel, you think that she's an unfaithful woman, that she was a harlot, and that's really not how the story goes at all. It
No,
was just
it's
kind of
bad branding. It's really, just she was very badly branded for her devotion to Asherah. There was they it
and that
was
was
this drive
before
to
the
have
there are no
these.
other gods before me. I mean, that was before the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, there's this drive to have, this very sort of patriarchal monotheistic, and they didn't want Asherah, even though she's mentioned in the Torah, they didn't want her, um, they didn't want anyone worshiping her.
Right.
So yeah,
It's literally the first law. It,
exactly.
no, I mean, there's a lot in there that's sort of magical and disturbing all at the same time. And also, I mean, there's arguably that one religion's demons are another religion's gods and protectors,
Yep.
and a lot of these names have just been retrofitted into different characters, and ultimately, what people call Satan now is not what Satan was. But you can't really tell somebody that, because they'd be like, and I mean, I guess they'd also have a point. What's the difference? What the ultimate embodiment of absolute evil is? If his name really isn't Satan, what's the difference? I'm going to call him Satan. It's Satan. Okay, I got you. I mean, would a rose smell any different if I called it a muskrat? No, probably not.
Yeah, a lot of it is naming and branding. Like, even if you look at Lilith, when I dug into Lilith for my third series, I found out that, yes, she's expelled from the Garden of Eden, but then she has all these kids that these three angels deem as demons, and kill them all. But then her and Adam get together again later after he's been cast out, and they produce this whole line of what were considered demons, Benim Shovavim, that he's partially responsible for as the father, and they're considered to be this wicked race of demons, out there in the world. And I hadn't known that part of the story. So
I never heard that either. I mean, the whole thing about Lilith is something that some people believe and some people don't believe. But again, angels that don't have choices sure did make a choice when they decided, we're tired of chasing you, but yeah, okay, well, and she proposed some deal. You can, if people invoke you and have an amulet, I'll spare their babies, and
yeah,
you can kill 100 of my babies a day. But I guess she's very like an automated promulgation machine of demonology out there, and spewing out all, it's like gremlins. Once you get her, feed her after dark and get her wet, it's like demons everywhere. demons everywhere. So yeah, you can get the first 100, but the other 700, a day, roam this earth, or two, whatever. Right? How many demons is too many demons? That's I feel like I need
that. It's not too many demons, and then I run out of plot.
That's right. Hey, what do we have here? Do we have a comment from someone? Oh my goodness, that's my best friend.
Oh, hello.
That's Mr. Thomas. My God, what is that emoji? What is that head there?
Is it a demon? Little demon emoji?
Oh my goodness, he's afraid of demons, even though he's so big and strong. I'm not afraid of demons, but I don't understand. Thank you for watching, Mr. Thomas, my co-host on the MLW Files. My co-host tomorrow. Actually, I'm his co-host on the MLW Files. I'm not sure if I'm his co-host or he's my co-host tomorrow when we talk about the Prestige on the Out of Character podcast. But also the godfather of the Boumaye Fight Club, formerly with Major League Wrestling, Mr. Thomas, a celebrity in our midst. My goodness, everyone, look at that, and the best-selling author here. where else do you get this panoply of just grandiosity in one place? Nowhere, I tell you. All right, so Lilith. I'm going to move off of Lilith because there's so much there, and there's so much stuff out there. Mother of monsters, the vampire. I sort of think that Lazarus maybe was turned into a vampire. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, sure, why not?
You know what I noticed, and it's on subject, but it's off subject, that the Book of Enoch was written, supposedly by Enoch, who's the one guy who in all the begetting and the begatting, he didn't just die. He walked with God. The different phraseology, and in that they also use they present Azazel as like a primary character, although he's not the leader of the rebellion. He just seems to be the sort of the wicked, sort of vizier type, like from Aladdin or whatever. Yeah. And Azazel in the Bible is just a reference to, it could be a thing, it could be a place, it could be a tradition. Basically, the goat that we put all the impurities in, we let it go into the desert and go to Azazel, and how Azazel is turned into there's this Captain Satan figure or Lieutenant Satan figure, which in some ways is turned, and I'm just wondering why Elijah was left out too, because Elijah is the other one who sort of mysteriously disappears, taken by God, and it's like they found all the deep cuts. It's like if someone in Marvel decided to take all like the deep cut Avengers and made a movie like that, almost like Suicide Squad was the first one, where you had all these like E-list villains and they tried to make a movie out of it. It's like, but these. The apocalypta, the apocryphal apocalypta was so popular in those days. I call it fan fiction. Maybe it was, but it's become canon, and some of it's become canon. Like the Ethiopian Bible has everything. The Eastern Orthodox Bibles have a lot of it in there, but not the King James, not the Jewish Bible. I mean, I mean, so it's like, but we have. When I say we, I'm also Jewish and also extremely secular. But there's this entire tradition of Jewish mysticism and magic, which is frankly indiscernible from any other mysticism or magic, except that the Temple of Solomon must be rebuilt in Jerusalem for there to be a kingdom of God for him to rule, upon the earth. Other than that, which I'm not saying it's not a major distinction theologically, but plot-wise, it's not that big. It's not that major a difference. Other than that, it's all we have different levels of hierarchies of angels and sphere roots, which are basically the tree of life, which are basically the chakras. And
we've got witches. We've got witches. We've got the Witch of Endor. We've got one thing. This was one piece.
There's not just Endor. There's also Andor. There's Endor and Andor. both there.
One piece of mythology I really liked that I used is I found out that from sundown Friday night Shabbat to sundown Saturday, the wicked souls in Gehenna are let out because it's the Sabbath. I'm trying to remember where I read this, but I used it in one of my series. And then I think it's the angel Duma calls on his trumpet, and they're herded back in. And I just love that the wicked souls just, they get a break for the Sabbath like anybody else from being tormented.
So what is it, like the purge? Like if people aren't celebrating the Sabbath, they're allowed to ravage and terrify those folks. But if you're obeying the laws of the Sabbath, you're okay?
No, these are wicked souls that are in Gehenna, that are like, in the sort of hell, that are being tortured, and they get Shabbat off. They get to go to Earth, like Rome, and then the trumpet calls them back. So that was a plot point I used in one of my series.
Shabbat shalom, indeed.
Exactly.
I didn't know that happened. That there was a temporary that you had work release days or play release days from hell.
Good behavior. You get the Sabbath off.
Right. The Christian hell doesn't have that. Take that, Christians. Uh, I have no idea about Islamic hell if they have that or not. So I
I
mean,
don't know either.
there's a lot more parallels there than but that's not one that I know. Maybe I'll ask. Maybe I'll find out one day. Um, okay. So was there other like monsters or golems or witches that you pulled from sort of like Jewish folklore? And where in God's green earth did you find Jewish folklore if it wasn't like from grandma's? I mean, did you go to like old Jewish books or something? Is there Jewish folklore mysticism bookstores out there in Vancouver?
Well, online you can find lots of things and at the library
Right.
and stuff. I mean, I grew up in a house we had, I remember reading Isaac Bashevis Singer, and there's a lot of mysticism in those old stories, and I've since mostly just ordered lots of books about it, just different folklore that pertains to demons or witches or just magic in general in Judaism. Um, yeah.
What kind of properties, what kind of powers did the Jewish witches have, or the witches in Jewish mythology have?
Um, I have not actually gotten into the witches yet. That's one I'm waiting. I think it's either the next book or the one after. I'm finally gonna get into witches in Judaism. But I've played a lot with demons and mythological figures like Lilith, like Gog and Magog, like, different demons, or, Asherah or Jezebel. But I haven't gotten into witches yet. That's coming up. That's something I'm gonna delve into.
Now, demons seem bad, but they don't seem all that terrifying. I mean, obviously Solomon was
Depends on
able to
the
put them to
demon.
work. I mean, they were there to torment and whatever, but it's not like they were ripping people asunder, as I understand it. Now, mind you, my understanding is about this deep, so my understanding could be entirely incorrect. But I mean, is that right? That they were like tormentors? They were ugly. They were sort of hideous, but and they could cause you problems and really be annoying. But it's not like they were, you know, devouring people in the streets.
It depends. I'm trying to remember what painting there is. Is it Asmodeus? There's some painting of some famous demon, like, shoving people into their mouth. So, I can't remember what it is now, which demon it was. I think it just really depends. Some are troublesome and annoying, and some go a lot farther than that. And then I've just used them as I need them or make them up if I have to.
Yeah, because
Again, that's the wonderful thing about urban fantasy is there's a lot of leeway.
I'm not sure Asmodeus is Jewish folklore anyway. I mean, first of all, Asmodeus, it's clearly Greek. So the deists part,
Yeah, I'm
Zeus.
just trying to remember which painting it was, like who the demon. I can see this painting, but I can't remember who
Is
it
it,
was.
is it one of the Bosch paintings? Because he liked to do
It might have
the
been.
demons
Might have
doing
been
demon. Yeah,
demony
he like
things, maybe.
him and Dolly did like all the scary paintings. I mean, I'm sure there's other people that did scary paintings too, but they're the two that I can think of. Yeah, I should actually do a show once with somebody who's actually a art historian and do like occult and demonology and
That'd be
angelology
really cool. Yeah.
and it would be if I could find such a person. But hey, if you're out there listening, call me. I'm easy to reach. Do at least 2 shows a week, so it won't be a problem. So you're welcome anytime. Okay, so we've heard about your journey. We know that you're in the first series now. Your prior books, is that a separate series entirely, or are those standalone books?
Those are 4 separate series.
4 separate series. So what are they all? 3 trilogies?
Nope, there's the first book is 7. The first series is 7 books. The second one is 6 books. The third one is 7 books, and the fourth one was 5 books.
Okay. So listen, I'm not a genius, but I know that I did not miscount like 28. So all of the books are not on in the line there of the press release.
No,
Um,
just this new one was. I don't know.
right.
I don't know if there were any others in there, but I think
Oh yeah,
just the new one.
there's a few. Yeah,
It might have just been the other series that features a heroine over 40. Does it all have sort of different colors with different objects on them? Sort of like a shoe, a hat, a
well, let's go to the videotape. let's go. Scroll down a little bit. Come on, computer. This is great. We're live. my thing does not want to scroll. All right, I've got to use the old-fashioned bar. Okay, so yes, they're throwing shade, made in the shade, a shade too far.
So that's my other urban fantasy series featuring a heroine over 40.
Very good.
So that was the first one I wrote with a heroine of that age, and now this series is my second one with a heroine that age.
Do you want to talk at all about the first series?
Yeah. So Miriam Feldman is a law librarian. She's a single mom who co-parents with her ex. She's living an aggressively normal life, which she's been doing ever since magic assassins killed her parents when she was 15. She's hidden from the magic community, and magic is hidden in this world to begin with. And when her best friend goes missing, she makes the choice to step back in and reclaim her magic. And she's actually one of these Benim Shovavim descendants of Lilith, and she has shadow magic. And the thing that was very fun to play with a woman in her 40s who has shadow magic is you feel it, she feels invisible, but at the same time, no one sees you coming. So it's that journey of empowerment as well. And finding out the truth of what happens to her parents, which start to have very big stakes for the rest of the world.
Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty good sell for the existing series, which, as you mentioned, was best-selling. And hopefully Golem for Broke will also be a bestseller and will lead to a further series of best-selling books. Thank you for your time, and thank you for meandering with me on things that I'm not nearly as familiar with as I should be, especially after doing 7 years of this show. And maybe as you get more versed in them, maybe you'll come back, not even talk about the books, just all the research things and all the folklore and stuff, and that could be fun as well.
That would be very fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you can reach out directly or through Mickey, whatever is your pleasure. If people want to follow you or find the book, what's the best way for them to do so?
The best place is to go directly to my online bookstore, which is DeborahWildeBooks.com, because I have early releases, I have exclusive discounts, I have cheaper audiobooks than any other retailers. Otherwise, I'm on all the major retailers: Amazon, Kobo, Google Play, Apple, Barnes & Noble.
Sounds great. All right. Well, best of luck. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody reads it, and then you'll come back again and we'll talk again. And that sounds like fun. Folks, if you're here by accident or you are following Deborah here, thank you much for being here. You can find me pretty much anywhere. You can find me here on the Sports Jedi Media Network, Sports Jedi Network often. You can find me doing the LFG review show on Wrestling Soup with Lufisto. And of course, you can find the entire archive of all Garden of Thought and Garden of Doom and Gospel of Thomas and Book of Black and Garden View shows, all under Garden of Thought on any audio platform. They're also, I think, archived all here as well on the Sports Jedi Media Network and on my YouTube channel. The only issue with any of them that are before I started going live on Sports Jedi is that there's no pictures. So you're just watching show art. But some people don't seem to mind that. And of course, everything's available just on plain old audio platforms as well, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, etc. So, and if you want to follow me on the interwebs, I'm still on Facebook, Jeff Lippman. You can find me on X for regular stuff, whatever that means, at IcarusFellMD. If for wrestling nonsense, at Dose_Evil. And that's it. Thanks again to Kevin. Thanks to the Sports Media Network. Thank you to Mickey for putting this together. Thank you for Deborah for sharing your time and information and talking to us about your wonderful books. Thanks, everyone.